that you sit outside with them, drink some sweet tea, watch your chicken TV. That way nothing comes and has chicken for dinner.
Right.
Everything loves to have chicken for dinner.
And now.
Aye, I'm the captain now.
Coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California.
This sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show. Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 120 of the Kris and Kristine Show. Do-do-do-do.
Fantastic. We are here at 120 episodes of the Kris and Kristine Show.
I know, plus all of the bonus episodes. So how many do you think that really is now? Would you think it's actually like 150?
We didn't do that many bonus episodes. I think we did
know.
like 4, maybe.
Oh, I think we did a few more than that, but we'll go with yours. So really, we're at the official 120 and some change.
You know, this weather, speaking of crazy things like hitting 120.
That was a nice attempt at a segue.
I tried.
Speaking of the weather, go ahead, Mr. Anchorman.
Yeah, it's actually
Great story.
Great story. Thank you.
Compelling and rich.
It was. It was really hot and warm, not quite 120 degrees, but it got into the 80s earlier this week, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just flipped.
Bam!
Flipped the script, and it got totally winter cold. Like winter's like, wait a second, what do you guys think you're doing? Get back here. We got you here. We got your number.
I know, it's been like the Winnie the Pooh blustery day. It's been like, brr. Last night, okay, so typically when we are in our bedroom, which I'm not trying to be inappropriate, let me start this over. When we go to bed at night, who's the one that's always hot in temperature in the bedroom?
I think you are.
Yes.
But you're also very hot in personality.
Oh, thank you.
Looks.
Oh, thank you.
And everything else.
Well, thank you. Well, typically I'm burning up hot and barely have like any covers on me. But last night I had wedding prep and I worked in the freezing cold garage and I was working with wet flowers. And so my hands were really cold. My fingertips were cold. And by the time I came upstairs to go to bed, I got in bed and I piled the blankets on top of me. I was so cold. I could not get my body to warm up for like 30 plus minutes. And I was like laying there shivering. And I finally pulled all of the extra blankets from your side of the bed and piled them on top of me.
I noticed that. I'm like, I get home last night. I'm like, where are my blankets at? I'm freezing. I had to do the, I call it the fetus position.
It's a fetal position. I hate when you call it fetus position.
The fetus position I was going to. Freezing.
Well, you can have them back tonight. I just didn't want to go downstairs and get my fluffy white blanket and put it on top of me because not only is it super warm, but it's a weighted blanket. And I was afraid that if I was underneath it with the weighted blanket, it'd put me in such a deep sleep that I wouldn't wake up on time this morning.
Is that a bad thing? I mean,
well, because I had a wedding today, so I had to prep.
I know. Yeah, Kristine was gone all day doing her wedding stuff. And actually, it's funny. It rained, was it yesterday and the day before? And today, the weatherman said it's supposed to stop raining. And then it started raining again. So if you have a wedding on a rainy day like today, do they just cancel it or what do they do?
Well, thank you so much for asking. No, they don't. You have to work in the rain, which is what we did today. And it was so windy. We were in Fallbrook and it was up on a hill. So it was windy and rainy. And I had the best team today. Kelsey and Molly were out there supporting me. And we worked for 5 hours it went between like sunny and rainy. And so at the venue that we were at, every time the rain would come, they'd pull these huge tarps over the tables and cover everything because they didn't want the silverware and the napkins to get wet. But then what would happen is they cover everything, which includes the centerpieces that we were working on. And so we had to pause like at 5 different points during the day. So it took us an hour extra to be able to prep everything for today. Fortunately.
And you charged extra for that, right?
No.
You charged rain charge, right?
No, you're a goofball. But it was a busy day, but oh my gosh, it was so far that was my biggest floral design, tablescape, the whole deal. And it was gorgeous. It was a wedding of 200 guests.
Wow. Is that like the biggest one that you've done?
I'm not it's the biggest one I've done this season. Well, like this past couple of years, but it was in terms of not just the size, but in terms of what design they wanted. It was very labor intensive. So they wanted what's called garland. So, like Christmas tree garland, it's like the stuff that we hang around like on the mantle.
Not tinsel, but it looks like tinsel.
No, it's like it looks like greenery. It's like the stuff
it's
that
like a vine with flowers on it.
Exactly. It's like a vine. But what most people don't realize is that when you get garland, like fresh garland, it doesn't naturally grow that way. You have to actually hand tie it.
No way. It doesn't?
No, you have to hand tie it together.
What a trip.
Yeah. So I had to do that last night and all the way up into the wee hours of the morning. And it was to cover tables, long farm tables for 200 guests. So my helper last night had to go home early. So then I had to work on, I did all of the garland. So it was about, I think I was totaling it up like 160 to 180 feet of hand-tied garland. And my hands, like, I don't know if you can see the cuts from the wire on my hands.
Oh, no.
Right here.
Look at that.
But it was so gorgeous. I was so proud of it. I was proud of everything.
Even with all the rain.
Gosh. It was so
because that would worry me.
Beautiful.
It would worry me with all the rain. Would be like, oh, no, all this work for nothing.
No, it was so freaking gorgeous. It was so beautiful. I was so proud of it. And the bride, I think that one of my favorite moments was before the ceremony. I just went over to say goodbye to her, and she was taking photos with her whole bridal party. And she said to me, she was like, oh my gosh, Kristine. And she was like, I love not like she said this, I love my bouquet. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad.
Well, you should. You paid for it.
I know. I said, I'm so glad, because it was slightly different than what she'd asked for, just because I was bringing in a few more seasonal flowers that are really pretty. And I was like, I'm so glad. And I was like, is it like what you had hoped for? And she says, this is better than I could have ever dreamed of. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's like the greatest compliment ever. When a bride actually enjoys and loves your design and your idea, and they tell their family and their friends, everyone's there taking pictures, and they love it, and they're praising the work that you've done. And all the effort you put into it and your design, and they love it.
Exactly.
That is what it's all about. Of course, getting paid is always nice too. Yeah. But it's always half of it, I always say, is always the congratulations for work that you've done.
Yeah. And you know what made me feel really good is before the wedding ceremony had even happened, you know that you're doing the right thing if all of the guests are going in front of the arch that you've created to take photos before the ceremony even started. Yeah, they were like lining up trying to get photos in front of it because it was so beautiful.
Can I see a picture maybe?
Yeah, I'll show you after the episode. I don't want to like pause everything right now to show it to you, but I also wanted to edit my photos a little bit to make them a little bit lighter and airier.
Now, are you going to get pictures from the photographer that was there? There was a photographer there, right?
Yeah, he actually followed me on Instagram so that he can get me the sneak peek photos when they're ready to come out.
Now, he'll post photos to his Instagram feed first, and then like
he'll tag me also.
But you can instantly like send those to your story. I always do that all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And so the way that it works in the wedding world is when we go and we post, we typically tag all of the vendors that were at the wedding, so that they can post and promote it. Because if you think about it, a wedding has all of these different characters that are seeing all different aspects of the wedding throughout the day. And so like the DJ will have like the cool dancing scene or like the flowers being tossed. The photographer gets some of those like detail shots where it's like the invitation and the bouquets, or like the bride and groom very close together, where he's getting like good close-up shots of her hair and makeup. And it's like the hair and makeup artist doesn't get to be at the wedding to be able to see all of that stuff. So by tagging them, it gives visibility, because a wedding is more than just one person doing everything.
Right.
It's like a whole production team.
It is a production. It's like when you watch a movie, end of the movie, they have like all the
credits. Yes.
Yeah, the credits of everything. So basically, it's like the credits
exactly
for the wedding production.
100%.
So you're in the credits.
Exactly.
That's
and
fantastic.
if you don't tag people, if you don't put their account on there, either like physically tag them or do like the little @ sign and tag their account, it's just really... It's considered really tacky within the wedding industry.
If you don't tag, if you don't
tag the people, like,
and who's responsible for setting all this tagging up? Is it the bride or who?
No, it's just like if you're gonna post a photo, like for me, if I'm gonna post a photo of the photographer, well, no, if I was to post a photo from the wedding photographer and not tag the photographer, that'd be so tacky.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, because it's like their art. It's like saying like, almost as if you are taking credit for the beautiful image. And
well, I would never do that. Like, I think what you're saying is that, like, if you took a screenshot of somebody else's photo and then posted under your feed directly as in, look what I just did, I don't ever go that extreme.
No, it's like if you take a screenshot and then you post it and you're like, oh my gosh, I really loved working on this wedding, but then you don't source who actually took the photo. It's just like, it's different if I take my candids. I can just not tag anybody if I don't want to.
So maybe I'm doing it wrong because I will find things on Instagram that I like and I will just send them to our feed or my feed.
Right, but you're sending them, so then technically it puts that account on
Yeah,
it.
it's true. It does.
Right.
At the very bottom, you don't notice it. It says at whoever it's from.
Yeah.
I saw this really cool one. So while you're doing that today, that I think about it, is that I took the kids and my dad to the movies today.
Oh, you didn't tell me you took your dad.
Yeah, I invited him too because I'm like, why not? What's he doing today? He likes going to the movies too. He never gets a chance to go out. So I said, let's meet me over at the In-N-Out Burger for lunch, by the way. It was crazy busy. He didn't have lunch. He just joined us over there. Then we drove over to the mall, which is like right across the street. And we went over there and my dad's like, what movie time are we going to see? I said, it's the busiest movie of the weekend. It opened up yesterday. We saw The Batman, by the way. And
The Batman, not just Batman?
Yeah, it's called The Batman, which is funny, ironic in the movie. He never calls himself as Batman. He calls himself as Vengeance. My name is Vengeance. It's funny, even people in the movie, the other characters, hey, Vengeance, get over here. Hey, Vengeance, we're going to do this? Hey, Vengeance, we're going to do that? They never call him Batman, which is weird. Anyways, so we go over there, and the movie's a big deal, so it's playing like every hour, every half hour it's playing. So I said, I don't know, Dad, we'll just pick whatever time when we get over there. We'll just pick the next one showing, because it'll probably be playing every half hour, which it was. So we saw the 2 o'clock showing. We went in there. We get in there early. We get like half hour early, which is funny. So we go upstairs and we go up there and we go into the movie theater. It's totally black, dark. Nothing is on the screen. Nobody's in the room. It's a totally empty house. And we're like looking at the stubs, like, is this the right one? Yeah, it's the right one. And we were like 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
So nobody was there. So I'm like, well, I guess we have time to kill. Let's go get popcorn. So we walked downstairs because the popcorn, the little concession stand upstairs was closed.
Oh, okay.
Everything was downstairs. I had to go all the way downstairs, which is funny. The stupid escalator wasn't working. And
it never is.
They got 3 flights of stairs in that place. So we took the elevator, which was working. Took the elevator back down and back up. So to get our popcorn.
Okay, but for context purposes, because most people might be used to like walking into a movie theater and it being like one level and then you walk down the hallway and you have like 20 different theaters. Our movie theater here where we live,
it's multiple
levels.
Yeah.
And because they're movie theaters, they're taller. And so it's 2 stories. But to get from the first story of movie theaters to the second story, you actually have to go up these 2 really not even regular escalators. They're super steep escalators or super steep flights of stairs.
It's probably like 50 feet up, I would say.
I think it's way more than that. It's super high because if you think of how tall a movie screen is and then above that, it's like these are stadium seating movie theaters. But with the escalator not working, I mean, that would be like a full-on workout. Can you imagine working there?
Well, my dad said, let's use the elevator. It's right over there. Because I went up and down the stairs twice. Well, once already to go up and get the movie theater, back down again to get our popcorn. Because let's use the elevator. It's right over there. So we used the elevator. And anyways, the movie was great. It wasn't that busy. I mean, it was okay busy, but
don't give away the end of the movie because people are barely seeing it. So go ahead.
I know. No spoilers here. But, it's funny. I was talking to Derek Duvall yesterday, and he said he's going to go see the movie today. I was like, oh, I want to see that. Oh, I should totally see that. I was thinking, like, you're busy doing your wedding stuff. I got the kids with me. I'm like, why not? It's a rainy day anyways. Why not go to the movie theater? So, and it just opened up. So it's exactly what we did. And it was very long. It was funny. The kids got very antsy. I was so stupid. I had Mason and Jacob sit next to each other, and my dad and I sat on the other side of them. And it's a 3-hour movie.
3-hour movie?
Plus, don't forget about that 20 minutes of previews.
What in the world?
So we each had our own popcorn. I had a bucket of popcorn. My dad and I shared one. The kids shared one.
A 3-hour movie about the Batman?
Yeah. You know what's funny? I hate to, I'm not going to spoil it here, but you probably get this from the preview.
I'm not going to spoil it, but.
But there's a lot of like dramatic walking in the movie, like a lot of dramatic scenes, like dun dun dun, like walking in slow motion kind of stuff. Like here I am revealing myself out of the shadow, and like Batman does that a lot in the movie.
But after he does it once, isn't it just kind of like cocky?
Well, I mean, I do it sometimes too myself. I walk in like, hey, dun dun dun, like do that slow motion.
Do I need to like start playing theme music for you when you wake up in the morning? Would that help you?
It might when I walk downstairs, But the coolest part of the movie in the movie trailer
is when Robin came on.
There was no Robin.
Batman and Robin.
There's no Robin. I'm sorry. There's the Batwoman's in it. I'm not Batwoman. Catwoman's in it.
Where's Robin?
I don't know.
And doesn't Batman have like a guy that like helps maintain his lair?
Alfred was in there too.
Alfred.
You know what's funny? Alfred is played by what's his name? Anders Serkis, I think his name is. The guy who plays
Anders Serkis?
What's his name? I can't think of his name.
You just are making up names.
No.
He's played by that guy, Grey Elephant.
He played Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
I've never seen the movie.
Or whatever. But anyways, he plays Alfred, and the cool part was the Batmobile was a new spin on the Batmobile. Before you came
Don't tell people.
Well, it's in the trailer.
Okay.
It's pictures everywhere. The Batmobile, it's like they took an old school like Dodge like muscle car and made it a Batmobile.
Like a Charger?
Yes, like a Challenger or something. Like take a Challenger or an old Plymouth or an old like, I don't know, Camaro or something and make it into some kind of like, kind of reminded me of, remember the movie Mad Max?
No.
You saw it with the old
I didn't.
In the desert, in the cars with the engines and the.
Oh yes, that crazy one. Yes.
Yes. Those cars were kind of crazy.
That was such a bizarre movie.
It was, but you see how the cars were all kind of crazy,
like souped up, crazy.
Yeah, that's what the Batmobile was kind of like that.
Oh.
Kind of like one of those things.
Oh, so it's like one of those ones. It's like where they take like what is it, like the Caminos or El Caminos, whatever they're called, and like souped up on like those jacks that makes them be like 8 feet high, and then you hear them go like. And they
yes, something's exactly like that.
Did you like those sound effects?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you got to take the boys to the movies and have some fun today.
It was, but they did get antsy.
Stay
Mason and Jacob were getting antsy, so I had to switch seats with my dad in the movie theater and get over and crack the whip on the kids because they were like getting real fussy and playing games, getting kind of because it's a 3-hour movie. That's my fault. Right. I should have split them apart. I should have one on one side and one kid on the other side. On me. I didn't think about that. I thought, well, they'll probably enjoy it.
I think they would have still been equally as antsy because it's 3 freaking hours.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you should have just like let them fall asleep.
Well,
live and learn.
Mason got his phone out during the movie at one point, and we had to take it out of his hand, put it in my pocket. It was during this like, I'd say kind of like a sombering moment where it's not action kind of a scene. It's kind of like a slower scene. That's when they really were like the itching in the seats to like do something. Like they want to play or want to run around. They want to do something. You
have such crazy words that you say. I'm going to start creating a dictionary of Kris. Itching in the seats. I've never heard that. And sombering.
Like, you got like
I've heard of somber and sobering, but a sombering and itching in the seats. I say that because you say all of these things that crack me up, and I really want to start writing things down. And I think that should be like our first item on the merch store. Not that we have one, but when we do have one, and someday down the line, is the Kris dictionary. It's like the dictionary according to Kris.
There you go. Fantastic.
But we wouldn't call it a dictionary because we don't want people to think that it's an inappropriate word.
Okay, yeah, sure, why not? It's Wikipedia, look it up.
Yeah. Oh.
It's probably on there. It's facts.
Anyways, anything else happened this week for you? That was just us covering today. That was crazy.
I know. Talk about a crazy week this week already. Now, let me think. Oh, I did release Podtastic audio. That went out. Fantastic episode, by the way. Thank you to Tiffany for showing up on the show. That was great. Great episode. It's got quite positive reviews. Like it, is
awesome.
It's funny as I was listening back to it last night at work. I was thinking like we actually may have pretty good chemistry together. Not saying you and I don't. But I'm saying Tiffany.
Why are you talking about having chemistry with another woman?
I meant like
don't make me crack the whip.
I'm saying for podcasting.
Okay, you need to preface that by saying in the podcasting world, I had pretty decent chemistry. I don't like you using that word chemistry in reference to other women. You can say we jived well during our podcast interview, but
we jived very well.
But you are all right. Seriously.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun.
Do I need to start like being your chaperone on the podcast interviews? Because it sounds like you have a crush.
Oh, no, babe. Come on now.
Mhm.
It's not like that.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Oh.
Remember, you put a ring on it, dude.
Hey, I did something nice for you. Was it last week or earlier? Did I make you breakfast?
Are you wanting me to tell specific parts of my week?
What? Go right ahead.
Well, you never asked me how my week was.
Well, how was your week, baby?
My week was so great. It was very, very busy because I've been on the go a lot. But you know what was so great about my week?
What's that?
Is that you have been quite the helper around the house lately, and it's really made a difference for me by de-stressing me. You actually made me and the boys breakfast 2 days in a row. Even though you had to work, you made us breakfast 2 days in a row. And you've been helping me out by washing my clothes for me to keep me in clean clothes while I've been working. Because if listeners are just tuning in and they haven't followed along with us for very long, not only do I work full time, but I also have my wedding business and have been doing this educational consulting, which has me traveling out of town almost once a week right now. But it's been really nice to have that added support at home. And so if I haven't said it enough, thank you for being my partner. I'm not going to say thank you for, doing the dishes because they're your dishes also, but I'm going to say.
You always say it's my dishes, but you know what's funny? They're the house. They're house's dishes.
No, the house doesn't have dishes, but let me finish what I was saying is thank you for being a partner, and thank you for seeing that I've been overwhelmed with the volume of work and home responsibilities and for equally lifting it. And I think that that's a perfect thing to say during Women's History Month, which is what this month is.
Is it really?
Yeah. National or International Women's Day is on March 8th. It's coming up real soon.
Well, check that out. That is fantastic. Hey, you know what, though, baby? Hey, speaking of making you fantastic breakfast.
Yes.
I mean, everybody loves a good breakfast.
My favorite thing for breakfast, though, because I had it this morning. I love a good scramble, like with eggs and all kinds of yummy good stuff in it and hash browns. But what I've been noticing is like the price of eggs has really been going up with inflation.
Is it really? I haven't really thought about that. I bought eggs at Costco last time I was there. By the way, shout out to Costco. It's a pretty good deal for eggs, I think.
Well, I think that I just want to start raising chickens.
No way. Yeah.
What was that? Yeah-yeah-yo?
Is that
E-I-E-I-O.
Is that what I said?
You said yeah-yeah-yo. I'm telling you, I'm going to start a dictionary of Kris. Yeah-yeah-yo. Like, I want to start a farm. Yeah-yeah-yo.
Hey, what do you think came first, the chicken or the egg or the farm?
I don't know, but you know who does know is our guest for this week, and we're going to hear back from them right after this.
Hey, thank you so much for being a loyal listener of the Kris and Kristine Show. And as that you are a loyal listener, we have a very fun opportunity for you to get involved with the show.
Ooh, tell me more.
If you like to get exclusive content you can't get anywhere else and to receive free merchandise shipped to you every single month,
ooh, I want that.
Then head over to patreon.com/The Kris and Kristine Show. That is patreon.com/The Kris and Kristine Show.
And welcome back, everyone. Today we have not one, but two special VIP guests. And you know what, Kris? I'm really excited for today's guest because we're going to learn about chickens and eggs and which one came first. Welcome to the show, Homestead Phill and Homestead Jenn from Rent the Chicken.
Oh, awesome. Hey, I'm Homestead Phill.
Hey, I'm Homestead Jenn. Happy to be here.
Yes, and we are the co-founders of Rent the Chicken.
Well, hey, now this chicken you're renting out, he's going to sound pretty popular. What's his name?
Oh, no, they're not named until they're rented, and then our renters get to name them.
Oh, that's super fun. I want to rent a chicken or the chicken or multiple chickens.
Yes.
You know what's funny? It's funny. Down here in San Diego, the Padres, I don't know if they still do. They had the mascot was the chicken.
Was it? Seriously?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Huh.
I didn't know that
I
either.
did not know that.
I thought it was like the fryer.
Well, that too, but they had this chicken running around, like this chicken costume. I don't know if they still do it or not, but it was like a full-on. That's the only thing I know about chickens, really. And I do know that they grow at the store. That's about all I know.
Well, just remember, you only get one dinner from a chicken, but you get breakfast every morning.
Oh, wow. I love that. Now, Homestead Phill and Homestead Jenn, where did you come up with the term homestead? Like, that seems like that takes me back to the prairie days.
For sure. So we have a little homestead, and when we started, even before we started Rent the Chicken, Homestead Phil was making some YouTube videos, and he'd start them all with, "Hey, Homestead Phil here," and then it just caught on. And so anybody who we work with that offers Rent the Chicken from their farm or homestead, they automatically get the title of Homestead so and so. And so I'm Homestead Jenn, Homestead Phil. We have homesteaders all over who offer Rent the Chicken and hatch the chicken from their farm.
So what is a homestead? Because like we have a home and it has some land around it, but what makes the difference between like a house and a homestead?
Sure. I think it's the way that you use your property, right? We are not where we live. We don't have enough property that I would call it a farm, but we have a garden, we can food, we raise chickens, we do all kinds of things here. And I think that's really the distinction of the difference between a home, a farm, a homestead. So yeah, that's my definition.
Well, we have feral children running around. So, I mean, we're raising some kind of animals. I wouldn't necessarily call it a farm, but can we call our house a homestead?
Sure.
You know what? Why, plant a garden, get them to do some weeding, teach them how to grow their own food in your backyard.
Oh, that's
right.
A good idea.
We could get them started on like maybe there's an Xbox game or something that they can practice on.
Yeah, like Farmville or something. Start there and then move into real farming. I think, what do we call the potatoes when Gabriel was here? Minecraft. It's like the real world version of Minecraft in 3D.
Fantastic. So you guys grow a lot of other things other than chickens at your place.
We do, yeah. I have a funny story if you'd like.
Oh, yes. We love stories.
Please do.
So when we were moving from the country, no, that was wrong. We moved from the city to the country, and it was like winter time, and we were looking at property and we found somewhere to move to, and my husband has never, until we moved to the middle of nowhere, never lived further than like 10 minutes from an interstate. Like, this is a big deal to be 25 minutes from the Walmart, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to have a little homestead. I want to have a garden." And meanwhile, the closest thing to a garden he had previously was a single tomato plant in a single
cucumber
thing. And he
plants.
planted some cucumbers once. And he's like, "I want to have a big garden and get some chickens for eggs and raise some meat rabbits." And I was like, "Hold up, sir. You wait
Meat
1 minute."
rabbits?
What's a meat rabbit?
Yeah.
Well, it's like raising chicken for meat, but it's raising
for
rabbit
food.
for
Rabbit
meat.
For
for
food, not for
meat.
pets.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, let's talk about this. First of all, that's too much. And second of all, you don't know anything about any of that.
And now we have rabbits and ducks and chickens and
We raise
a
meat
garden
chickens sometimes,
and we
yeah.
can food and
I told him, you pick two, guy. And now look at us.
Wow. Yeah.
I did not win.
Instead of Old MacDonald, will be like Homestead Phil had a farm. Well,
That's
I had a
right.
homestead.
E-I-O.
Okay, now we have to know, because you have a company called Rent the Chicken, but you don't just one day wake up and be like, we're going to start renting chickens. Where did you start with your love of chickens?
Oh, yeah. So we had chickens before Rent the Chicken was hatched. And we decided that we were going to rent them out. The way we figured it out is like everybody in 2022, and back then was 2013, we were looking at our cell phones in the middle of the night before we go to bed, which we really shouldn't do, but we were. So I'm scrolling through like Google, and I Google crazy business ideas. And there was somebody in Alabama that was renting out chickens. And I leaned over to Homestead Jenn. Well, she wasn't Homestead Jenn at the time. I leaned over to her and I said, "What do you think about renting chickens?"
And I was like, well, we have some chickens and I can work some power tools. So sure.
Yeah. 2014, we rented out just in our area. I think Homestead Jenn built something like 52 coops in our front yard.
How big are these coops? Are they like the ones you buy at Home Depot?
No, they're about 3x5 in size, depending on which model we send to you.
Double story? Like they have a little story?
Yeah, some of them do have a second story. That's a place where the chickens can jump up and sleep. That's enclosed, and a nesting box where they can hang out and lay their eggs. that is also enclosed.
Now, you haven't told us where in the world you actually are. You mentioned this other state, but then you said you serve your area. Are you in like the Midwest? Are you in a place where there's lots of farmland?
Sure. We are just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. However, we work with about 25 farmers throughout the United States and Canada. So we can deliver to Tennessee, Toronto, Ontario, British Columbia, Arizona, North Carolina, New Hampshire, all over the place. So rentthechicken.com, you can see all of our locations.
I also saw that I don't believe I saw anything for California.
Oh, man.
I know.
Oh,
How
man.
sad.
Why is that? Is that because of all the tight rules we got out here?
No, we're looking for a farmer in that area. We just haven't found the right relationship. So if there's somebody here that's got a little bit of property and you live in California or even Washington, Oregon, and you want to try to rent out some chickens and be part of our program, go to our website. There's a link right there. We're accepting applications. We would absolutely love to partner with somebody there in California.
So then what title do they get if they decide to like host the chickens on their farm? Are they a chicken host? Are they like a chicken captain? Are they a
Entrepreneur.
homesteader?
I
A
think
chicken, wait, let me say it.
Chicken
A chicken tender.
There you go.
that's it.
There you go.
I like that, a chicken tender.
You know what's funny? Chicken tender. I was asking the kids if we ever had chickens in the house here. I said, "What'd you name them?" Of course, you got to name them nuggets. And you got to name them tenders. And you got to name them sandwich.
Right? Or soup.
Oh, that's a good one. I think we could come up. It's like, Bubba Gump on Forrest Gump. We'll come up
That's
with
right.
lots of
Oh,
different
one of
names.
my favorite movies, Forrest Gump,
Yeah, we
for
could have
sure.
chicken tender. We could have shredded chicken.
So these chicken hosts, the people that actually host have the chickens, the farmers, were they considered to be franchisees of your company?
We call that an affiliate program, so we don't actually use the term franchise or franchisee. So they become part of our affiliate program, and they get officially named Homestead so-and-so, and then they offer the program to their local renters.
Oh,
And you may have just heard some beeping in the background.
Yeah.
We've got some incubators that are going to be hatching chickens, and we have a home show coming up here in Western Pennsylvania in March, and we will be hatching chickens at the home show.
that's so cool. Yeah, I heard that like little kind of mechanical sound in the
The
background.
only incubator I remember ever seeing was the one in Jurassic Park when they were turning the dinosaur eggs and the velociraptors were being hatched. Is it kind of like that? That's all I know.
Well, here's what I can tell you. Chickens are the closest living relative to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So, yes, it is kind of like that.
No way.
I could get that, like with the little arms. I could see that.
Like Christine's making a little arm movement right
little
now. Like,
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I mean, look at their feet. Their feet they've got these talons, the claws, and that's another incubator going right now. Sorry about that.
I love
no
it.
worries, no worries. So, I know nothing about chickens. I know that, like, I mean, I see them at the store. I see them on the restaurant menu.
Wait, you see chickens at the store?
Well, I see the chicken meat at the store. And everything. Kids love chicken, of course, and chicken nuggets and all that stuff. But I have a curious, and I see eggs, obviously, and things like that. What makes a difference between a brown egg and a white egg? I don't know. What's the difference?
So, really nothing. A good tasting egg comes from chickens that are eating the right food, that have access to pasture, or in this case, somebody's backyard, the grass. The eggs at the store, the white eggs are usually bleached white. They're fine to eat, but if you get a backyard egg from a chicken that was raised in your backyard, you're going to have more good vitamins and minerals, more good omega fatty 3s, a third less cholesterol. They're just very, very healthy because of what they're feeding in a low stress environment. Now, chickens themselves, those store-bought eggs, typically those birds only have like 1 square foot of space their entire life in a cage. Now, California, they've actually passed a law to require 1.5 square feet, but come on. 1.5 square feet. Now, the eggs themselves, the color is based on the breed of chicken. So prior to the 1940s, your grandparents would have found traditionally only brown eggs in the store. Then somebody discovered that there was a chicken that laid a white egg, and they would lay about 320 to 340 eggs a year, and that was the leghorn. So everybody pretty much switched off of brown eggs at about 280 eggs a year to the white egg layers. And that increased production for eggs, that made more revenue for poultry farmers that were raising chickens for eggs. And so that's why traditionally we have seen in our generation white eggs in the store, but there's really nothing different on the inside of the egg.
That's super interesting that you talk about that, because I think about like is it Looney Tunes where they have Foghorn Leghorn?
Yes.
And if you think about the timeline of when that character was created, being like this big buff chicken, it was probably around the time of that switch within the industry. I wonder if there's a connection between like the little other chickens versus the Leghorn. Wait, did you call them the Leghorn chickens?
Leghorns, yes, that's
Leghorn
correct.
chickens being like the stronger, ready to produce.
There you go.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so now people bleach these eggs to make them white. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yeah, they're the store-bought eggs, they're washing them with chemicals, they're doing things. In some cases, they're bleaching them to help them stay white because they want a consistent egg. They want the same look throughout everything. So, yeah.
I never even thought about that, because you get some of those eggs that they're very white, and then some now have like a stamp on the shell. And I just figured like, oh, well, they'll just, come from the farm and they rinse them off a little bit and stick them into a package. But even eggs can be super processed.
That's for sure. And something interesting, if you can believe it, the chicken doesn't put the stamp on the egg.
They don't? Man, I thought we had some cool chickens here.
Mind blown. But at the same time, when a chicken lays an egg, if the nesting area is clean, in our industry, we just say you can take it right from the nesting box and keep it on the counter. But the U.S. government says all eggs need to be washed and then put into the refrigerator. So when they're washed, that bloom that's on the egg when the chicken lays it, that's rinsed off, which makes the shell more permeable, allowing for it to be spoiled, which is why it needs to go into the fridge.
So with your eggs, the eggs from the store definitely need to be in the refrigerator.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the eggs that you get from your own chickens, I mean, yes, you want to rinse them off before you use them.
Yes, of
course. But they can sit on the counter for a couple weeks before they spoil.
Really?
I mean, 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Yeah, longer than that.
Sometimes longer. Depends on the humidity level. If it's a high humid time, they don't necessarily last as long as like this time of the year when there's less humidity.
Does it make a difference if you a chicken lays an egg today and you see it lay the egg, you grab it, and then 5-10 minutes later you cook it? What does it taste like? Can you do that, or you have to wait?
You can absolutely do that. And there's not a lot of difference between like a 10-minute-old egg and a week-old egg, but there's a big difference between like a week-old egg and like a 6-week-old egg. So if you were to take a fresh egg and crack it open into a nice hot skillet, that egg is going to be stationary. That egg white is not going to run across your skillet.
Really? Why?
Yeah, just because it's fresh.
And, in the egg itself, the white part is called the albumin. And the albumin actually has 2 different layers to it. And when you crack open a fresh egg, you'll see the first thicker layer of the white part of the yolk and the second layer, which is a little bit more runny.
Right.
So what happens is when you crack that into the pan, there's 2 distinct parts, but an egg from a store that could be an egg that's, 4 weeks old before it gets to your plate. When you crack that open, it's unlikely that second layer is going to be in there because it's kind of just mushed into the rest of the egg.
Yeah. And something else with fresh eggs is if you either of you like to bake at all, a fresh egg will give a fluffier cookie or fluffier cake.
Really?
Interesting.
Check that out.
Okay, now, again, city girl here who has never raised a chicken on her own or raised a chicken. I mean, I've seen them hatch before. I always thought that if you get an egg and you leave it on the counter and you don't use it within like 10 days or so, that you're going to end up like cracking the egg open and having a baby chick inside.
Oh, really?
Oh, good question.
Oh, great
Yeah.
question. So, in order for there to be a baby chick, there needs to be a rooster.
Oh.
In the hen house.
Because they have
right?
to like
Yes.
fertilize
In the
it,
hen
or
house.
because they
Fertilize.
lay eggs that are already baby chicks inside.
The
I'm
same
so confused.
reason why you keep Kris around.
Yes.
Well, chick anatomy here. So does the fertilizing of the egg happen after it's laid?
No.
Happens before. So as the egg is in the hen's reproductive system, the rooster will mount
Yep.
the hen.
Have a good
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
Keep
Alright.
it clean, Phil.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Family friendly
and
here.
so the sperm go up into the reproductive system and they join with the hen's egg.
Got it.
And at that time, the egg continues down the reproductive system of the hen. The yolk gets fully formed, the albumin gets fully formed, and the last thing to happen is the eggshell forms around the albumin and the yolk. And then
Okay.
the hen lays her egg.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and it's not uncommon for people to not know that this is how it works. Like, we have a lot of people who say, well, don't you need a rooster? And then I usually just explain why. It was if a lady who's asked me, I said, well, just like you and I, we need a man to produce or to fertilize an egg, but we can produce an egg all on our own without
it.
the guy around.
So I heard a myth too. I don't know if this is true or not. That it helps with the egg laying itself if there's a rooster nearby. Maybe.
We don't rent roosters, and our hens lay a-okay.
Okay. So there's not like you need a jump start to get the rooster excited.
No, but here's what a rooster will do. A rooster in a field, if he's walking around and he sees some grubs in the ground, he will actually do a low clucking noise, call the hens over, let them eat first, and then he will eat.
What a guy! How nice of him.
Yeah.
He's also first line of attack if there's a predator.
See?
Like, he's there
See,
to
those
protect the
ladies.
flock.
Yes, if
right,
something gets into a hen house, he will lay down his life for his ladies.
Absolutely.
Oh, I
what a
need
hero.
myself a rooster.
What a hero!
That's such a sweet story of love and sacrifice.
But the chickens have no problems. You said laying eggs without the rooster being there, and when you do move the whole setup to a renter, is there a problem with delaying these eggs, or they happen right away?
So when we bring the coop, first off, it's on wheels. So it's very portable. It can move through a yard. It's got that fenced in area for them to walk around in. Typically after we drop off, within 24 to 48 hours, they are laying their first egg. We bring chickens that are ready to lay or really close to it.
How do you
Sometimes they lay. Oh,
I'm sorry. How do you know if they're ready to lay or not? Do they tell you? I mean,
well, they send an email.
Before the chickens go out, they're put into individual coops, so we make sure that they're getting along. And then we keep an egg log of how many eggs are laid out of that coop. And once we feel that it's sufficient, at that point, we take the coop to the renter. And a single chicken usually lays for 6 days and then takes the 7th day off. So every week, 2 hens should lay about 12 eggs.
between the two of them?
Yes.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay, so with these coops, you talked about letting the chickens roam. So if a renter receives a coop from you with 2 or 3 chickens in them, then are they to open the coop and let the chickens roam around their yard, or do
Take
they
them
keep them
inside.
caged up or put them on a leash and take them for a walk?
Yes.
Great questions all around. So our coop is portable, and it simulates it simulates free range time. So when the coop is moved, the chickens have access to fresh grass and bugs, but they're still super safe in the chicken coop. There is no on TV, or you hear about people have to lock up their chickens. That's not a thing with our coop system. So the chickens have the ability to go from the roost area where they sleep to the ground with free will. And then if the renter wants to let the chickens out of the coop, that's no problem. For some supervised free range time, the renter can be out there with the chickens. When they want to go back inside, they put their chickens back in the coop, lock it up. That gives so much layer of protection to make sure the hens aren't outside really susceptible to predators.
And
Right.
I definitely recommend that when you're letting your chickens roam around, that you sit outside with them, drink some sweet tea, watch your chicken TV. That way nothing comes and has chicken for dinner.
Right.
Everything loves to have chicken for dinner.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that where we live. We just recently moved over the last few months out into a more rural area of the county, and we have some big trees in the areas with red-tailed hawks that are like up in the trees. And so I was thinking about that if a chicken, like I would be worried about renting chickens because I'd be worried about that they would be prey for the hawks. But if
And
there
the coyotes too.
Right, and coyotes. But if there was a way to keep them in a coop, nice and safe, and still give them time to eat the grass, that would be great.
Our coop has that wired section. It keeps them protected. Now, we say it's predator resistant, not necessarily predator proof. If a bear wants to get into a coop, a bear is probably going to get into a coop.
I guess if you get into cars, they can get into your coop. I'm sure no problem.
Now, can coyotes get into the coops?
I guess if one really worked at it for a long time.
Most predators are real opportunists. So, like, if you have these red-tailed hawks outside and you had your chickens roaming about in the yard and you decide that you want to go in to have a sandwich or even to get a drink, the hawk would take that moment while you're inside to go ahead and feast on the chickens. And so, with the coyotes, as long as you put the chickens back in and they're all locked up, the coyote will come along and likely be like, well, that's too tough. I'm going to go find something that's a little easier.
They're looking for an easy meal.
Yeah.
How often does this happen where a renter loses a chicken?
Not often.
No, if they're following our recrecommendations, not often at all.
And is there any kind of warranty or any kind of like insurance on chicken insurance on the chickens?
So the way it works is, if a chicken dies due to no fault of your own, we are going to replace the bird. If it dies because of something you did or some kind of action, there is a fee for that. And in our contract with our renter, we even have the ability to take the coop and the chickens back to the farm if we don't like, kind of what we saw.
I was going to say, if they chicken out.
Oh, yes, they can chicken out too. They're like, I give up. But if somebody loses a chicken, they're devastated because these chickens have become part of their family. And believe it or not, chickens are also used as therapy animals for folks in senior care facilities, PTSD situations, U.S. Veterans. So, people really do become attached, and they love their chickens.
I had chickens growing up as a kid. We had chickens.
Wait, you did?
Yeah, I did.
What? I thought you only knew the chickens came from the store.
Well, they do. We bought it at the store. We took them home. But yeah, we got chickens and they're little chicks, I guess. We lived in a place that had a little bit of land growing up, and my brother was we were playing with these little chickens. They're baby chicks, bouncing around the yard. And my brother was kneeling down. He was probably like 6 years old or something. I don't know, maybe 7.
Are you going to tell me a sad chicken story right now? I don't know if I can handle it.
Maybe. He sat on one of the chickens.
Oh, shoot.
And because he was like leaning around, he's squatting over there, and he kind of sat down and he sat on one of the chickens and he killed the chicken. He squished the chicken.
He made a chicken patty. I'm so sorry.
Chicken patty. That's also a popular chicken name, is Patty.
Oh, really? But yeah, we had chickens, and I think they did eggs too for a little bit. But I think for us, it was like...
Seriously? You're acting like you've never seen this happen before.
But I think the coyotes, or the dogs, or the bears, or whatever we had floating around the neighborhood got in there, and we had that. We also had a goose too growing up, and I don't know if she laid eggs. She might have laid eggs too. So, speaking of eggs and crazy eggs, have you guys ever had ostrich eggs before?
I have not, but about 2 years ago on our Facebook page, we posted a April Fool's joke of renting ostriches.
Wow. In like South Dakota and where else?
I don't know.
But Newfoundland or something.
But there were definitely some people that were very upset when they found out it was an April Fool's joke.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Someone actually called in the last 2 months, actually, and Homestead Miranda is one of the helpers who helps with the phone. And she was like, she hangs up the phone. She's like, that lady just asked for ostriches, and she was mad when I said we didn't have them. And I was like, oh shoot, Homestead Phil's April Fool's joke is
years later
us in the rear once again.
Now, for the chicken rental program, is it like like the old version of Blockbuster where you get them for a few days and then you have to return it, or else there's a late
fee,
charge,
yeah.
or do people rent for life?
Be kind, rewind.
So what we do is we deliver for the season from spring till fall. You pay everything up front. And then at the very end, you can adopt the chickens and the coop, or just the chickens if you want. If you adopt, you get full support from us for life. So 5 years down the road, you could have raised your own chickens, hatched your own eggs. If you have questions, you give us a call, not a problem. Or at any time, you can chicken out. We take everything back, like we were saying earlier, but there are no late fees, and we've never had to repossess a chicken.
So thinking on that, I'm very curious about when you were talking about people raising their own chickens. Have you ever had situations where people will rent your female chickens and then they just decide to go and, rent a rooster just so that they can hatch their own little flock of, what do you call it? A herd of chicken?
A
Family.
A flock. No, most people are not looking for roosters because they're noisy. So I can't think of any times where a rooster has been introduced to our chickens.
No, but there is a real threat of biosecurity. So we want to make sure that when our renters rent chickens from us, that they're not mixing our flock with someone else's.
Okay.
Because that's how disease can be spread.
Yeah, if somebody mixes two flocks together, one flock that's not from us, at that point they've adopted all of the chickens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like when we adopted our puppy, she was a specialty breed. And so we had to sign all of this paperwork that we wouldn't breed her and we wouldn't have any other puppies. And there was all of these requirements and we agreed to them. But I was thinking about that as it relates to your chickens, because you probably have a quality guarantee around what people can expect from your chickens. And then if they're going to start breeding just so they can have their own chicks, it would be complicated. But if a family wanted to hatch some of their own, it sounds like you do hatching. So could they rent from the egg, from the very beginning, and raise them up?
Great question. So we do have a hatching program called Hatch the Chicken, where we bring an incubator with 7 eggs. The incubator is about the size of a volleyball. We drop it off. We have it all programmed. For the first 3 weeks, those chicks are inside the egg. They're moving and growing and developing inside. We provide a candling light that you can shine up to the egg. And as that baby chick grows, you shine this light up to the egg and you can actually see the baby chick. It's almost like an ultrasound.
So cool.
Weird.
Then after they hatch, you put them in a cage that we provide. We provide a cage with bedding, a heat source, food dish, feed, water dish, everything you need. You keep them for 2 weeks, and at the end of that time, you can either adopt them if you want, or we just plan on taking everything back to the farm.
So if you adopt them from the time that they were hatched, what is chicken care like? Because I think of a baby where you have to feed them around the clock. Are chickens pretty independent from first hatch, or do they have to be chopped up worms hand fed to them?
No,
Yeah,
they are very independent from first hatch. They still need to be fed and watered. I would love it, honestly, if I never had to have a baby chick from that 2-week-old period until egg laying, because it's just a lot of poop.
Oh.
And a lot of food. And a lot of
yeah.
poop.
I mean, they're fun for the first 2 weeks, but then they start to get smelly. They get bigger. It's not fun. And it can take 26 weeks before you get your first egg. Oh, wow. So when you get baby chicks, that is a commitment.
It is, yeah. And they have to be under heat or inside the house for a while until they're ready to go outside, they're big enough and it's warm enough. So
well, it's like 95 degrees in
I
San
know.
Diego,
I was going to
so
say, it's like climate determined.
Right.
But at the same time, most chicks, when they are hatched, the gender is not known until 3 or 4 months. So that's a big commitment to be all in, to say, yeah, we want to have chickens, but we only want the girls. And then they get a half dozen chicks and then 4 roosters. Oh. And then they have to find both for those, and then find more chickens a similar age as their young chickens. Oh,
and for those that don't know, roosters don't lay the eggs.
That's right.
Okay.
Now,
Thank you for
That's
the
right.
definition. See, he does have experience.
Yeah, a little bit.
now, not to get into all the adult details of chicken mating and all of that, but you wouldn't want to mate a rooster and a hen from the same, I don't know if it's called litter, right?
Can you?
So
Flock.
there is something called line breeding, and there are ways you can line breed your chickens so that you do not have genetic issues. Now, what I mean by that is you can take like a great grandchild of a rooster, and for showbirds, they do indeed will rebreed like great grand chicks with the great grandfather to go after those attributes that they're looking in a show chicken.
Oh, okay.
But it's typically not something most farmers even think about.
Also, I think if you pick up like 6 chicks from the feed store, the chances of them having the same mom and dad is super
Very
slim.
limited. I mean, they might be
Yeah.
cousins, but
Yeah.
Good point.
but
Okay.
one rooster usually has anywhere from 6 to 10 hens that he services.
What a stud.
that he's active with.
Okay, so I'm very fascinated with this because I've always wondered all of these chicken questions. So if you have chickens laying eggs and you have roosters nearby, how do you know when they lay the egg what is a egg that's going to become a chick and what is an egg that's going to become an egg on my breakfast plate?
Sure, great question. So the baby chick the cells don't start to divide until the egg has been brought up to temperature, which is 99.5 degrees. So there's really no chick growing until the egg is warm. And the only way that you really know that an egg is fertilized is to stick it in an incubator, wait for about 4 or 5 days, candle it, and see if there's anything going on inside. Now, aside from that, if you took 2 eggs, one with a hen that was with roosters and one from a hen that was not with a rooster, and you crack those eggs open, you're probably not going to know which one was fertilized. There are some signs that you
That just
can
means
look
you're going to
for.
have 2 eggs for breakfast.
Yeah, you're going to have 2 eggs for breakfast. So
Sorry to interrupt you. You were saying
It's okay.
there are some signs that you could look for to see if one might be fertile, but by that time there's no dividing of cells that have happened, so you might as well just enjoy your wonderful fresh egg bread.
But if a hen is with a rooster, you can pretty much guarantee that the eggs are fertilized.
He's doing his job.
He's doing what he needs to do. And also, a rooster, when he mounts, his talons will go into the back of a hen. And so typically they'll pull a lot of feathers. So if you see a hen missing some feathers on her back, you'll know why.
Understood.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, Chris. He's laughing over here. I have to remind him this is a family-friendly podcast.
I understand. I'm just, curious about the nature,
Well, this is so fascinating to me. And you mentioned that you have the hatching program. So what types of clients do you have that take advantage of the hatching program?
We have families that participate. We also quickly realized when we started Hatch the Chicken that schools, daycares, preschools, libraries love to participate, and senior care homes as well.
Really?
So what they love about it is that we take everything back,
Including the chicks.
including the chicks.
Did you guys pick up any messes that might happen?
No.
But we make it easy for the daycare, right? They're already working really hard, or the homeschooling parent, right? You're working really hard at doing everything for your STEM education. The last thing you need is a big project on top of everything you're doing. So typically after the chicks hatch and are put into the cage, the food that you feed them, it'll last for about 4 or 5 days. We also supply enough bedding that you can do one change throughout your rental program. And, they really don't start to smell until about 10 days. So we really try to make it easy and not add a lot of extra work to the
honeymoon
staff.
phase, I guess.
Yes,
It is.
it is the best part about having baby chicks, the hatching and the first 2 weeks.
Well, I was thinking around like Easter time, you feel like you hear of so many people wanting to have like baby chicks and baby bunnies, but the problem becomes they buy these baby chicks or these eggs that they want to see hatch, and then people are left with chickens and they don't realize how messy they are. And same thing when it comes to the classroom. I remember when I was younger that our teachers would have the chicks hatching in our classroom, but then our local farmers would take the chicks afterwards. So it seems like for those that live in an area where maybe there's not as much farmland or as much demand for baby chicks, this might be a really good solution for them. Is this a very expensive program?
The program itself runs about $200 depending on where you live. So some areas a little less, some areas a little bit more. But the program is really designed to help people go through this experience without having to have that long-term commitment. You know, like who wants a 2-year cell phone contract, right?
Nobody.
Right. Yeah.
And now do you hand deliver these types of setups? Because it seems like if you were trying to ship eggs, that there could be a lot that goes wrong right
chip
there.
chickens.
Great question.
No, eggs,
Yes,
because they're hatching them, Chris.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, fine. We bring the incubator with the eggs and everything directly to you. We don't mail anything, again, because that could cause issues with, you know, if we mail them and they go by airmail, we've got altitude issues with the eggs. The eggs actually do have an air sac inside of them, which a lot of people don't realize. If you hard boil an egg and you crack it open, you've got that little divot on the end. Mm-hmm. That divot, for the longest time when I was a kid, I was like, where's the rest of my egg? But now I realize that when a baby chick takes their first breath, they take their first breath inside of the egg, and they will actually chirp before they've come out of the eggshell.
No
Wow.
way.
So if they were flying, not that they would be, then it's like their little built-in oxygen mask.
There you go.
Right.
Well,
that's right.
the altitude changes could affect the movement could affect the viability of that chick to hatch.
Definitely. Well, that seems like a very affordable program for a school or for a daycare, for a classroom to bring into them. But what about the actual renting the chicken? What does that package? I don't even know if you have a chicken package.
What's your price plan and like how often or how long term and things like that?
Right. Do you have like a 4-piece chicken nugget meal versus like a 20-pack?
A 10-piece maybe?
Oh, she went there. I
We
cannot
got some
even believe
yolks.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, my. She thinks she's cracking us up.
I just like to live on the sunny side.
So Rent the Chicken usually starts with a 2-hen package that comes with a coop that fits 2 hens. That's our standard rental package. And that price starts around $475 US. And that's depending on where someone lives. Sometimes
For the
a little
entire
higher.
season.
That is for 5 or 6 months. Yep. And we accept a $50 or $100 deposit again, depending on where someone's located, and then balances due closer to or at delivery.
Okay.
And that includes the feed as well, the feed for the rental and full support.
Oh, that's amazing. So if you were to think of like a spring through fall rental, about what is the average number of eggs that a couple or that a family could expect from 2 hens for an entire laying season?
Sure. So the season's going to last anywhere from 20 to 26 weeks, depending on when we deliver and when we pick up. And 2 hens will give you about a dozen eggs a week.
Okay. So then we're talking like 26 dozen eggs?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. So if we were to factor that out, not only do you get the fun of having your therapy chicken there that you can take for walks, but you also get to benefit from having a dozen eggs a week. I like
And
that.
fresh eggs too, not these store-bought
Fresh.
white
Right.
basic eggs.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that sounds like it's a fantastic deal. So you're working with some different farmers and you talked about some expansion plans. Are you only renting chickens and hatching chickens within the U.S., or have we taken this like flowing the coop and going broad?
Yes, we have definitely flown the coop. So in British Columbia, we deliver out of Victoria as well as Kamloops. Out of Alberta, we can deliver to Edmonton and Calgary. In Ontario, we deliver out of Toronto, or deliver to the Toronto area. So
We don't want to forget Vancouver.
yes,
Okay.
we deliver to Vancouver. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I would love for us to spread our wings and eventually, get into the UK and Australia and other English-speaking countries. I would go for the non-English-speaking countries, but if they called me, I don't think they'd understand me.
But do you think the chickens would?
Oh, I think so.
Possibly. Just shake some food. They'll understand.
I was wondering that. Like, do your chickens, when they're in Canada, do they cluck with an accent? Like
They say cluck cluck egg.
They do. They say a lot. Eggs. So, how far away do you guys, when you guys do delivery and setup, is there a maximum for delivery? Or if you have to go beyond that, do you charge extra for that?
We deliver for free within 50 miles stateside and then within 80 kilometers in Canada. But that's just delivery for free. We've been known to drive a really long distance if someone wants to pay the fee to participate. Otherwise, we do have an out-of-area package stateside where we can ship a portable flat coop that's made by our Amish friend Levi, and we also then ship the feed, the bedding, treats, feed dish, water dish, and then the hens. Like we give that person a chance to put the coop together.
We ship everything,
but it gives them a chance to have full support too. So even though it's a purchase package, they still receive full support from us at Rent the Chicken.
Now, very important question, because as people are renting these chickens, you talked about them being emotional support animals. Have you ever had one of your clients try to have their hen fly with them as an emotional support animal?
I have not, but what I can tell you is at the end of the season, there's always several customers who have kids. As we're picking up the chickens in the coop, their kids are sitting on the porch crying because Anna and Elsa are leaving their house.
They're having a hard time letting it go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh.
there you go.
I'm having too much fun with this.
You're gonna ruffle some people's feathers.
I know.
Totally
So we do have an opportunity to winter hens for our renters who want us to keep the chickens over the winter, and then they rent again in the spring. So that usually helps the kiddos who are having a tough time with it.
I've got it. Yeah. So
Now, do chickens do well in like colder climates outside, or not at all? I don't know.
Yeah, so chickens, their heart beats really fast, around 300 beats per minute. They've got feathers on, so it's like they're wearing a down jacket 24/7. They ruffle up their feathers and they stay warm. So we don't recommend a heat source inside the coop, because typically a heat source will lead to fire, and fire leads to barbecue chicken.
Hey, if you're hungry, here you go.
well, I do like a good chicken leg.
There you go.
But yeah, so they're fine during the winter.
Okay, I was just kind of wondering about that. Places that, like, if you service to some places like Minnesota, for example, which I'm sure it's like covered in snow right now, and how the chickens would survive in a coop that's covered in snow.
We live near the Allegheny River, and last week the Allegheny River was frozen over, and it's about 300 feet wide, so it's a big river to be frozen over.
Right.
Our chickens are fine. We feed them. We've got a heated water dish so that they always have access to water.
A heated water dish. Never heard of that before.
Okay, so important question, Homestead Phil and Homestead Jenn. What happens once your hens are done laying for their lifespan? Do you have a chicken retirement home on your property, or is it like horses where they get transitioned into an afterlife, like
A craft.
pillows or something?
A craft project, right? So we have let me just think of the word. We're very cyclical here.
Okay.
So what happens is we have, for us here in Western Pennsylvania, and each homesteader handles it a little differently. For us, we have our friends that raise our baby chicks for us until they're ready to lay, which is when we pair them up and get them ready for our renters. And if the renter decides they want to have us winter, we talked about that, we winter. Usually after one season of wintering, the renter rents again and then adopts. They're ready for wintering with chickens. Otherwise, if someone doesn't commit, then we are a super great source of 1-year-old, super friendly and a little bit chubby hens, because they get a bit spoiled. They get a bit spoiled out there when they're being rented, and so we don't have hens on our homestead that need to go into retirement because they're either rented and adopted or just rented, and then we adopt them out to friends and family.
Got it.
I would say about 50% of our hens are adopted, and those people that adopt the chickens, they usually adopt some more. And any hens that are not adopted that are 1 year old, we do sell. So
We don't have big barbecue.
yes, we do not have a big barbecue.
That's my next question. So, what is the price of a chicken, an older chicken?
Like
Oh,
1 year old?
usually $25 to $40, depending on.
Depends on the breed.
Okay, and now do people usually use those for food, or do they try to lay eggs with them?
They usually still are laying very well. They lay for like 3 or 4 summers before they decrease in their egg production. And they usually slow up in the winter too. It's based on daylight hours.
Oh,
So
interesting.
something I want to talk about is the difference between an egg-laying hen and a meat chicken.
Okay, yes, please.
An egg-laying hen is just for laying eggs. You could process them if you want to, but you're probably only going to get like 8 to 10 ounces of meat off of an egg-laying hen, and it's really not going to taste that good because you're used to, believe it or not, eating chicken that is probably 8 weeks or less old that you get from the store.
We're eating babies?
Yes.
Yeah, they're super juicy and plump though.
So, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. Now, the egg-laying hen, when they're 3 or 4 years old, they don't taste good. The meat is tough. That's why they call them soup chickens. The other bird that you are used to hearing about is like if you go into a Costco or a Sam's Club or a Walmart and you see a rotisserie chicken there.
I love those. I'll get one of those later.
Yes, that rotisserie chicken is probably a Cornish cross, most likely. They usually they're bred to grow quickly. If you get Cornish cross chicks and you raise them and you don't process them because you want to try to save the chickens, they will either at some point their ankles or their knees will break because of the weight, or they'll have a heart attack, or they'll have a stroke before they could even lay their first egg. So they're a crossbreed between 2 different birds, and they are usually processed between 6 and 8 weeks old. Wow. And they usually, after they're butchered, they're about 3.5 to 4.5 pounds.
So what you're saying is efforts to save those specific chickens actually doesn't save the chickens. It just sets them up for a more miserable end of life.
That's correct.
Oh, so we're doing them a service by not being vegetarians, Chris.
I know.
We're just,
we're saving the chickens,
yes, we're saving the world. Now, speaking of different types of breeds of egg-laying chickens, do they all look the same, like little white fluffy chickens, or do some have like the crazy hairdos that I've seen on different chickens on Instagram?
So the ones that we rent out we pick specific breeds, usually red stars, black Australorps, which is a black chicken, a golden buff, which is a golden chicken.
We'd be remiss if we didn't say we live in the greater Pittsburgh area, so we do rent out black and gold chickens.
Yes, we do.
Steelers fans. My son's a huge Steelers fan, so he would like a black and gold chicken ready for him.
In Indianapolis, we actually rent out chickens that will lay a white egg and a chicken that'll lay a blue egg.
No way.
For the Colts.
Really?
So we've got all these different breeds of chickens. Typically, we try to find breeds that are more docile, that are more interested in being handled, because there are some breeds that are very skittish.
Okay.
And these birds typically are birds that lay that 5 to 6 eggs per week. So that's how we decide on what breeds. When they're baby chicks, they are different colors depending on the breed. So those bright yellow ones or the strawberry color ones, those chickens are typically either a Rhode Island Red or a Red Star.
Or Buff Orpington.
Or a Buff Orpington, absolutely. So you can find baby chicks that are different colors, and when their feathers actually grow out from just that fluff that they have, which we call down, their feathers may grow to a completely different color than what they are as baby chicks. In fact, most times they do.
It's like humans too. Like your baby hair could be blonde, you can grow like brown or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just like humans.
Now, what happens to the roosters when you hatch? You talked about, you might have some roosters, you might have some hens, but we've only really been talking about the hens. What happens with all of the roosters that you have? Or are
Great
those
question.
hatched at a different facility?
So right now, there's no easy way to determine the sex of a chicken while it's inside the egg. There have been some science experiments out there where after about 3 or 4 days, they've figured out how to determine that sex. But in general, 50% of the birds are hatched as female and 50% as male. Mm-hmm. And for us, the male chickens themselves, we actually take all of our baby chicks and we sell them with a farmer friend of ours. So he sells them, and some of them we do keep for raising. But for the most part, all chicks that are hatched are either sold, or they become part of the Rent the Chicken breeding stock, or they become Rent the Chicken chickens for the next year.
Interesting. Now, do you ever get flack from the animal lover community that this is cruelty to animals, like PETA or anything like that?
Yeah, we have fielded some of those phone calls. And, just like everything else in the world, you just kind of have to hang up and move on. Mm-hmm. On social media, a lot of times the vegans don't like what we're doing.
Oh, no, what'd they say?
They think it's cruel that we would put a chicken in a cage, and they would rather have us free range those chickens where, maybe a hawk could get them.
Oh, a circle of life, I guess. But yeah, the vegans, man, gosh.
I think there's no winning with that crowd, but it did make me wonder, since you have, there seems like there's a certain functionality and a certain entertainment value to this, how you navigate that, where people realize that, yes, you're empowering them and teaching them, but there is some fun element of it too.
We are creating this amazing environment for these animals. We really do care for them. We provide a coop that is way bigger than factory birds. We're providing food that is the best food ever. We're taking these chickens to people that want to have the chickens there, that are going to hold them, that are going to love them, that are going to take selfies with them, right? This is not a factory, farm environment. It's just not who we are.
Some people start Instagram pages for their rental chickens.
I would too. Here's my chicken nugget and chicken tender.
A factory farm, you're never going to get that kind of experience from those chickens. So they're definitely well loved in the Rent the Chicken program.
Well, we have a very important question for you as we begin to wrap up this interview. Do the two of you... No, it's just between us. The chickens aren't listening right now. But do the two of you have a favorite chicken that's currently living at your homestead?
Absolutely. We have 3 chickens that we consider ours.
That's our flock. We have a 3-chicken flock.
Yes. And the white one is named Whitey because I'm not very creative.
We had this lovely little frizzle chicken that was red and her feathers flipped up, and she just passed last summer. Oh. And our former foster kiddo named her Reddy because she's red. Oh. And so then Phil got a white chicken that's white, so he named her
Whitey.
Yeah.
And then we have Hottie.
Yeah, so I had a chicken that I loved. She is so pretty. And then one of our renters had rented an Easter egger chicken to lay blue eggs, and her chicken just wasn't laying, and we didn't have any other Easter egger chickens to rent except for my chicken. Aww. And I did say to her, okay, I'm going to bring my chicken to you that I have not named yet, but she definitely lays a beautiful blue-green egg. Oh. So we took that chicken there. When we picked up, she was so happy that I let her have my chicken for the summer. And she said, I want you to know that this chicken's name is Hottie. So now I have my own personal chicken who's named Hottie because she's very good looking.
And then we have our 3rd chicken, which was actually just named this week. I had a group of elementary students help me name the chicken, and that chicken's name is Cookie. Oh. She is a white chicken with black feathers.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. And all three of our flock are Easter eggers, so they lay these beautiful bluish green eggs. Just beautiful. And they have like poofy cheeks, these chickens do. They have feathers that poof their cheeks out.
I love that so much. And so now, do they live in a special like chicken condos dedicated to like
absolutely.
your special?
They do have probably an upgraded coop from the other ones. However, if any of our renters want the upgraded coop, we do rent those out as well.
Okay, nice. As I ask you, as far as the food goes, what's the difference between your food and the food they give at like the factory of chickens?
Sure. So the feed that we provide is a higher quality in that we are looking for, we're not looking for the best price. We're looking for the best quality. Factory birds themselves, yes, they do get sufficient food, but it's very much managed. And it is, if they can get 3 tons of grain or 30 tons of grain from the Ukraine instead of from Nebraska at a cheaper price, some of these factories will do that. So for us, we are really looking for something that is more sustainable, more local. One of the options that we have here in Western Pennsylvania is a non-GMO feed, and that food is actually grown in the same county that we live in, and it's a Mennonite family that grows this feed, and they mix it and they grind it. So it's amazing. We've had it tested. The other way I can tell is when our chickens lay eggs, they taste a lot better than the eggs at the store.
Oh. Now, I think that we need to come on out to the Pittsburgh area. And like I said, my son's a huge Steelers fan. So we'll, take in a football game and come and visit your chickens, because I think that would be just so much fun to learn more about what it's like to actually live with so many fun chickens.
And do the chickens charge for selfies? Do they charge to take selfies with the chickens?
No.
Oh, but we were in Nashville. We were at the Southern Women's Show.
So I went to help with the booth with our homesteader in Middle Tennessee, and we made a big deal that these 2 chickens were named Reba and Dolly.
Nice.
And then we had selfies with Reba and Dolly, and like most people understood that they were the chickens.
In
but
fine print, it said the chickens.
This one lady was like, "You mean to tell me that Reba and Dolly are not going to be at your booth?" I'm like, wow. This is Reba, and this is like Reba. Reba is this redheaded chicken, and Dolly was this nice, fuller figured chicken.
Of course.
Now,
but people loved it. People loved that they could have selfies with Reba and Dolly, the chickens.
Now, as we wrap up today, before we ask for where our guests can find you, have you ever had anybody famous rent your chickens?
Yes.
Oh,
I will give you some examples, but I don't want to give names.
totally understand that.
We have had NHL hockey stars rent from us.
Mm-hmm.
We've had rock band famous rock stars rent from us.
Ooh.
We've had NASCAR Cup drivers rent from us, Cup Series winners. We've had NFL head coaches rent from us.
So cool.
Who else?
Oh, we've had like people from reality shows.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And
Penn and Teller have rented from us
Oh,
for
that's
one of their
cool.
shows.
Yeah.
Now,
some,
other than like Penn and Teller, have any of your chickens actually like broken into the spotlight? Have they like strutted down the Cluck Hall of Fame?
Yeah, in 2015, we did have one of our homesteaders went to New York City to do a filming for a new MTV show, and they had chickens on that show. I don't know if the show ever made it to the air, but they definitely were filmed by MTV in New York City.
Fantastic.
Well, this has been so fun and super fascinating. So, Homestead Jenn and Homestead Phill, where can our listeners find out more about your business and follow you on social media?
Great. So people can find us at rentthechicken.com and also hatchthechicken.com, and on social media.
Facebook, Rent the Chicken. Instagram, at Rent the Chicken. Twitter, at Rent the Chicken. And sometimes we're on Snapchat, although our chickens are not very good at Snapchat. So if you Snapchat us, it might be delayed some.
Well, we just need to come up with either cluck chat or hatch chat, and maybe they'll be a little bit more open to that.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. And do you have any special promos that are coming up as we're entering into the spring season? Any special deals like rent one, get one free chicken?
That is an excellent question.
The deal is make your reservation before we sell out.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
However, if you reserve now and you place your deposit and one of your friends or neighbors also reserves and places their deposit, you will get $50 off of your rental before delivery.
I love
Fantastic.
that. Well, this has been a hatching good time with you today. And so we just want to thank you so much for being on our show. And listeners, definitely go to rentthechicken.com, hatchthechicken.com, and check out our notes on this episode for more information on how you can bring home your own feathery friend to be part of your family. Thanks so much, Homestead Jenn and Homestead Phill.
Thanks
Thanks for having us.
Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show. You know, that was so fantastic having Jenn and Phill on the podcast today.
Homestead Jenn and Homestead Phill.
Homestead girl, what's happening?
I know, but I really do think that I want to have chickens. Let me rephrase that. I want chicks.
Oh, really?
Little chickies.
They're so cute and adorable, aren't they?
They are. You know, I love little baby chicks so much so that when Ezekiel was little, I gave him a nickname and it stayed with him his entire life. But only I can call him that, so nobody else.
Chickadee, right?
It is. So don't call him that because you know that's my special name for him.
That's fine. Yeah, whatever.
It's my little chickadee.
That's fine. Hey, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
You know the cool thing about little chicks, because I had baby chicks growing up. I also had a baby goose. I called Ozzy.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Why is this the first time I've ever heard this? You had a baby goose?
Yeah, well, it grew up to be a big goose, and we had like this old like rundown bathtub in the backyard. We filled with water, and that was its bath or whatever. And I don't know if it laid eggs, or it probably did. I forget. But
you just said it was a boy, so it can't lay eggs.
It was a girl. I don't remember.
Okay, no, back up. So you had a baby goose. I need to know more about this.
Yeah, I called it Ozzy. I don't know. My parents might have pictures of me holding the little thing. It's like a little like. It's like this big holding it the way I hold Clover, I'd hold the goose, and the thing was that with baby geese and baby chickens, and they kind of adopt to you as being their mother. So you walk everywhere you go, they follow you. So the goose would follow me everywhere I'd go, and
Seriously?
the chickens would follow me. Yeah, oh, yeah.
You acted like you'd never been on a farm before, and now
And it wasn't a farm; it was in the country. All right.
Well,
Farm.
Basically the same difference.
Farm
but
is like you got you got corn, like one of those things you put the stuff in. and you
No,
got
that is not true.
Tractors and all that.
That is not true. But now I know that I'm like married to Farmer Chris. So you had a baby goose named Ozzy. How long did you have Ozzy for?
Well, Ozzy, for a while, actually. It was funny. Ozzy was like our dog that would bark. You know when you have an outside dog and somebody would drive up to the house and the dog would just bark like crazy? The goose would do that.
So what made you guys decide to get a goose?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. My dad.
What do you call a baby goose? Do you call it a baby goose or do you call it something like a Gosling?
Maybe, yeah.
Like Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, but I bet you what it was.
Or
Gosling. So I picked little Ozzy and we would be cuddle buddies, and hang out. And
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Was he like an indoor Ozzy?
No, we had it outside in a little kennel or whatever it was when they were little. It grew up so fast and it was white. It was a full-on white goose, like they normally are. It was big too. It had a big wingspan. It flew, but only like a foot off the ground.
Okay.
So running around, sometimes you get out of its little playpen, like Clover does. You have to like chase her around the yard. The yard was much bigger than this yard. So we had to like chase her around the yard and stuff. And then big old wingspan. When they get scared, they pull their wings like way out. Like, hey, look at me, how big I am. And they start they bark or they quack. It almost sounds like a bark.
They honk.
Yeah, they honk. They have a big honker on their big nose, is a big honker on it. And so they would do that to kind of like thwart off people.
Are you kidding me right now? Because this totally seems like a made up story. I really do think that I need to call your mom.
No, it's a true story. And I think the sad part was I do believe either dogs or coyotes got to Ozzy.
Oh, that just ruined my night.
I know, but Ozzy lived for a long time, like a real long time, if I recall. God, it's been so long ago.
Oh my gosh.
I was probably like 12 years old when he first got Ozzy.
Are there any other crazy animals that you had that I need to know about?
Let me think. I had a snake.
What?
We found. It wasn't like a snake you buy from the store. It was one you find like in the yard or something like that.
Like a garter snake?
I guess.
Or
I
a
don't know.
gopher
But it
snake?
scared me. Is I hated like my buddy and I were trying to like pick up the snake and like clean the cage out, and it would do this thing. I didn't know what kind of snake it was. We like found it, right?
Okay.
And so it would rattle its tail like real like a rattlesnake would. So I didn't know if it was a rattlesnake or not. I had no idea. I don't think it was, but it did the same thing a rattlesnake does. So I'm like freaking out every time we had to catch it
And yet you kept it.
in my room. Yeah.
Oh my word.
And it was not even like a regular cage. It was like a makeshift like milk jug kind of like a water ball. What was it? A water ball or some kind of container. It was a kind of container you'd had like a lid that you screwed on the top, almost like the container that we had those candies you buy at Costco. Those
like the pretzels.
yeah, but like it's like as a round lid that you screw on the top, but it's clear, but it's like a jug shape.
Right, I get it.
It had one of those with holes drilled into it or something.
My gosh.
This whole
What
makeshift.
are you telling me right now?
And then one day it disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know where he went.
Oh.
And then one time I tried collecting spiders.
Oh
I had,
my word.
you live in the country, you have spiders everywhere. So I thought maybe if I can collect them, I can put them into an aquarium. Unfortunately, I didn't think that spiders climb walls. I didn't think about that. And they climbed right out. So I don't know.
What did your mom do with you? You sounded like you were quite a handful.
And then we had a pond, and my dad made this pond in our yard next to the house. It had a patio. And he tried to make kind of a koi pond, but it wasn't really a koi pond. It was more like a makeshift, like
more of an oi pond.
It was a kiddie pool that he put like rocks around it.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
make it kind of look
Yeah,
like a
I
pond.
remember when people used to do that. It was a pretty popular thing.
And he had a pump and a thing and everything, all that stuff. But it basically just grew tadpoles and frogs and that kind of stuff.
Your dad is super handy when it comes to stuff like that. He always has great ideas for like specialty projects and gardening and all kinds of stuff like that. We should really talk with him about this idea of Rent the Chicken, and maybe he could like open the California franchise and start raising chickens. What do you think?
Maybe, but the chickens are a lot of work,
But your dad is up for the challenge. So, Fred, if you're listening, maybe you have a future in chickens and you can tell us what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you got anything else, baby, before we wrap this episode up?
No, where can people find us if they want to listen to this or any of our other episodes?
Well, you can find us on the old interweb if you decide to look that up at krisandkristineshow.com, and everything you want to know is right on there.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for listening. Thank you for helping us hit this milestone today of 120 episodes, and we look forward to being back with you next week.